Abuja, the federal capital, is not a part of the North Central. President Muhammadu Buhari's establishment of 5 universities across 4 geopolitical zones out of 6 may put the light to the continuing marginalization of the Igbo Southeast. The new institutions are to be established in the Southwest, South-South, Northwest, and Northeast, but the Igbo are unlikely to consider the establishment of the institutions fair. In fact, they are more likely to see it as one more proof of the deliberateness of the marginalization inspired against the Igbo, which began before the Buhari presidency, but has been remorselessly given Philip since 2015. They see and feel the unfairness against their ethnic group, but by now, other than feeble remonstrations, they are probably paralyzed by a sense of frustration and ennui. In the past 6 years, the more they campaign, the more their grievances provoke official intransigence. They campaign for a 6th state for their zone, but the federal government points at the size of the Southeast, the proverbial landlocked dot in the circle, and snub them. They see how, since 2015, some of the country's service chiefs, one of the newly appointed chiefs, has proposed one for his state to cite tertiary institutions in their states at public expense and convert one of their zone, but because they have not produced a service chief since that abominable culture took root, despite being one of the Nigeria's ethnic tripod, they have been left holding the short end of the stick. In response to what the Igbo described as a long-running and long-standing pattern of marginalization, Southeast protest groups have roused themselves to challenge their continuing diminution. One of the groups, led by Ralph Wazurike, the Movement for the Actualization of the Sovereign State of Biafra, MASOB, became strident, unorthodox, irreverent, and loud. The region's leading political elite recognized the group as a challenge to their regional dominance, but years of attrition inspired by federal might eventually balkanized the group, birthing the more incendiary indigenous people of Biafra, led by hysterical Nnamdi Kanu. But whether MASOB or IPOB, the Southeast elite knew which side their bread was buttered. They opposed Mr. Wazurike, denounced Mr. Kanu, and though they lacked the courage to trigger or even win a frontal confrontation with the two, thereby forcing the elite to pull their punches, they had no illusion about what IPOB and MASOB represented to their political hold on the region. They knew they would be supplanted should the agitators have the upper hand. Since IPOB got the upper hand, however, the region's governors and political elites have run the gauntlets of federal might and Biafra mob, just like President Buhari, not to talk of a disproportionate number of northern opinion molders and politicians who was chary of condemning Boko Haram in its early years. Igbo leaders had engaged in handwriting until the president unleashed a string of sanctimonious and bellicose characterization of the Igbo. They were landlocked, he gloated, as if the core north was not also landlocked. They were a dot in a circle, he growled, mocking the size of their 5 states and their overwhelming need to excel into other geopolitical zones. And in any case, he said with a finality that was distinctly unpresidential, excessive, mendacious, and provocative, they were well represented in his government. He exaggerates, of course, but that is his distorted view of his administration's inclusiveness policy. Notwithstanding that he comes across as divisive and insular, and when the now linguistically inclined president deadpanned about the violent language he will speak to the Igbo and IPOB, whom he regards as his coterminous enemies. The threat was complete and the humiliation final. Weeks of militarization of the region by government security forces, encouraged by weeks of attacks on police stations, INEC offices, and a few other government buildings by alleged agents of IPOB and the Eastern Security Network, created a siege atmosphere that seemed to prime the region for war. The problem was not beyond dialogue. Many Nigerians counseled, since IPOB and other aggrieved people in the region behaving like symptoms of a disease were merely responding to hostile conditions engendered by a federal administration unenthusiastic about meeting the Southeast either halfway, an administration that continuously baits the region. But finally, the Defense Minister Basha Magashi belatedly led a delegation to dialogue with the region's leadership elites, thus turning their eyes wary of indirectly encouraging a war they neither wished for nor assented to, nor were even prepared for. Igbo leaders balked and began speaking effusively about the merits of national unity. According to Igbo leaders who met in Enugu on June 19th, saying, "We condemn in totality the activities of violence and secessionist group in Southeast and elsewhere. We firmly proclaim that we do not support them because they do not speak for Southeast, while we firmly promise to protect everyone, either from our region or other regions living in our places. We plead with other regions to please note the threat to our people and please address the threat to our people and protect them. We condemn the killing of security agents, burning of infrastructure, facilities, and killing of civilians in Southeast and even in other regions. We request our security agencies to discharge their duties with the rules of engagement and law. We request our National Assembly members from Southeast to please support state creation and state police in ongoing constitutional amendments. The impression that Southeast governors are silent over our youth agitation and secession is not correct. Southeast governors, Ohaneze presidents, National Assembly members, and notable leaders from Southeast had come out publicly in the past to speak against such agitation in order not to find ourselves in the unfortunate situation. Southeast leaders have set up a committee to engage such group and allow the elders to address their fears. No self-abnegation can be more mortifying. The Igbo had at first been reticent. Some of their analysts say because there was no corresponding federal denunciation of S-men, Northwest bandits, and Northeast Boko Haram in the core North, despite the enduring suspicion that all three terrorist groups had received some sort of official or regional connivance. Neither MASSOP nor IPOB or ESN has engaged in the pillage, rape, land seizure, and farm destruction akin to what S-men and bandits have carried out without let or hindrance, but it was IPOB that first attracted official terrorist label in 2017, while rampaging S-men, some of them foreign-based, had and continue to receive official justification. No one has forced the core North political leaders to apologize on behalf of S-men, bandits, or Boko Haram, but Igbo leaders have had to supplicate the country on behalf of a Southeast group that threatens to supplant them, provoke their overthrow, and routinely lather them with abuses and all sorts of depreciation. Yes, in 2017, Igbo governors had declared IPOB illegal. The Igbo, probably in ESAP's poker players, had they been adepts at bluffing, they would have known that as uncaring and indifferent to their cause as the federal administration has in these later years become, there is a limit to which it can speak the violence language. It threatened the Southeast. The administration wields the ghoulish symbol of war as a word of Damocles over the collective head of the Igbo, but the alliance and forces that prosecuted the Nigerian civil war are all obliterated, making it impossible to coerce the kind of cooperation that undid the Igbo in 1967. The Igbo have now eaten crow, and at least the specter of war has seemed considerably diminished. But it will be a mistake to think that because the Southeast leaders have backed down, the seeds of future conflicts have been extirpated. The Buhari administration's constant dithering over restructuring in the face of what is clearly an untenable and indefensible political structure is certain to prolong the country's existential malaise. Okay. So guys, a word is enough for the wise. You can imagine, from what this writer is saying, irrespective of how they come out to denounce and whatever, does it change the mind of the people? They are doing that because of political whatever. But the question is that, does it mean Buhari is going to be there forever? Why are they succumbing to the tenets of the Buhari and his northern people? And nobody has come out to say, oh, because they always say, oh, these are the people that want to take a presidency. For what? If they don't want to give you, so be it. Let them continue with it. I don't even know why they are even bothered in the first place. The more they get onto the power, the northerners, the more they get poorer, the more insecurity, the more whatever vices you can think of, they are embedded. But these guys, they are just doing their own. Because if you look at the northern elites too, they are marginalizing their people. See the kind of life their people are living. So also all the other geopolitical zones, so their leaders and their governors and politicians, they are looking for their own bread to be buttered as well, so that to be part of it. It's not as if all of them are talking in favor of the general masses. It's happening in the southwest, in the south, everywhere. All these politicians, they are on the same page. While the masses at all levels from north to south, they are getting the same treatment of marginalization. So these so-called Southeast leaders, they are just doing that to their own whatever. So whatever they are going to be standing on is not going to be the mind of the people. Now see the university they created, all of those, we can see all of this, but all of them are just deceiving themselves. They are deceiving themselves. So guys, leave your comment down there below and let's have your take.